Movie Time is brought to you by the Gateway Film Center, 1550 North High Street, Columbus, Ohio. Further details and showtimes online at gatewayfilmcenter.com.
The award-winning It's Movie Time is produced by John DeSando. Listen to the shows and read reviews online at WCBE.org.
I'm John DeSando.
I'm Wayne Miller.
And this is It's Movie Time.
I think it's movie time. You've got the sign obliterated, I think.
Well, if you're listening to this just on the radio, then you can't see Wayne in full Sherlock Holmes regalia with all of his little trinkets. But I guarantee you it's a hoot. So if you're interested, go online and see the video portion of this show.
I'm a geek, that's for sure.
Wayne, today, Mr. Holmes opens up in Columbus, Ohio, and probably around the country. It stars Ian McKellen. And Wayne, I don't have to tell you because, of course, you are Sherlock Holmes in another life, and you've probably seen all 2,000 iterations and adaptations of this.
Not quite, but quite a few of them.
And so, how does Mr. Holmes, starring Ian McKellen, fit into the canon?
I think it fits very well, and I think Ian does a superb job. His acting skills are fantastic.
Yes, boy, they are.
You can buy into the sense because here he is. It's bulk of the movie takes place in 1947, post-World War II England. Holmes is 93 years old.
Right.
And I think it really fits in the canon. It almost bookends another movie from a couple decades back, young Sherlock Holmes,
right, okay.
Nicholas Rowe,
yeah,
as a very young teenager.
Who appears in this film.
I did not know
that.
Yes,
and I'll think of who it is.
Okay,
yeah.
I'll have to look that up. That's interesting, because I never really saw him in very much after that, but he did a superb Holmes. McClellan does, I think, an excellent Sherlock Holmes.
He is older. He has a little bit of Alzheimer's, wouldn't you say? Or he's on his way.
Yeah, he's getting very forgetful.
Yeah.
And that bothers him, and that sets up, in fact, one of the things about this movie, and I think it's very good, and it really evokes the period of post-World War II England very well, but also post-World War I England, because of how there's flashbacks. You know, there's several little mysteries, not a huge big mystery with facing Moriarty or something like that. Small mysteries, one of them that takes place in post-World War II Japan. And they take a trip to Hiroshima, and a very interesting side trip with that, but also flashback to about 30 years before. And I think McClellan does a good job of a early 60s, age 60s Sherlock Holmes too.
Yeah, and his search in Japan for that elixir that's going to help his memory.
Yes, prickly ash.
Prickly ash, right. Reminds us that he is attempting to keep his old self. And you're not going to see the old Sherlock Holmes here. You're not going to see this sharp as a tack investigator, famous worldwide detective. You're just going to see him deducing in small parts and showing you what he once was. And that's what I really like about this. It's a daring thing to do because we've all grown up on him. And Basil Rathbone never aged.
No, he didn't age. Jeremy Brett, unfortunately, because of personal illness, did age.
Oh, yeah.
You know, people think about Sherlock Holmes. They either think, especially our generation, Basil Rathbone, or Jeremy Brett in the PBS series the BBC or Granada series there. And both of them do very well. I think people now, though, would associate Sherlock Holmes with either Benedict Cumberbatch.
Got it.
That's superb. Updating Sherlock Holmes to this time period, or the Robert Downey Jr. Series.
Now, I've never seen the Cumberbatch, but I understand he's pretty hip and snooty and whatever, smart.
Very good, and an excellent with Martin Freeman as Dr. Watson. But I also will throw a little bone out there for the CBS Thursday night series, Elementary, with Johnny Lee Miller as Holmes, and once again, a more recent time Holmes, and I always thought I would not like that series when it first started because Lucy Liu plays a female Dr. Watson, and it's updated. It takes place in New York, but that series I think works.
the beautiful cinematography here of
Yeah.
Sussex
Yes.
and the White Cliffs
The
of
White
Dover.
Cliffs of Dover.
Oh,
Excellent.
it's just, I mean, if you love this kind of period piece, and the set design is gorgeous, the costumes, I mean, it's got it all. It's just like at the beginning of the summer, Far from the Madding Crowd. I go
Yeah.
crazy
Yeah.
over these British countrysides, and they do it very well here. There's interaction between him and a young man,
Yes.
Roger,
Roger.
and his housekeeper, played by
Laura Linney, which
Curious.
if I did not know better, I would not have recognized her.
I think
in this
they
role.
bulked her up somehow.
Well, and aged her, but
Yeah.
I think she pulls it off very well too.
Yeah.
But I tell you that the young actor playing Roger is superb
Right.
and a perfect foil to McClellan's Holmes.
Yes, and the young boy Roger is kind of picking up on all the
Yeah.
traits of Holmes. So he's a younger Sherlock Holmes. He's becoming very rational, very abrupt with his mother, for instance.
Yeah.
And the two of them, that is, Holmes and Roger, are tending bees.
Mm-hmm.
A
Yes.
strange little piece of business.
Well, but though that's how in the canon that Holmes retires to Sussex
Does he?
to
Okay,
yeah,
so that's
to
accurate.
raise bees. And what I like about Roger is that he evokes a lot of memories about in the stories. Occasionally, a page by the name of Billy, and almost a very young protege
Okay.
of Holmes.
Very good. And now, what about the women in Holmes's life? There was Irene Adler, right?
Well, Irene Adler, that he called the woman,
Okay.
and only appears in one story, but in a lot, especially the Robert Downey Jr. Movies, really plays a big part. Well, and even in the two TV series, Cumberbatch's and Miller's
Okay.
TV series, Irene Adler plays a role. And if there's any quote type of heterosexual love life for Holmes, that he really felt it towards Irene Adler.
So how does this woman in this story, in Mr. Holmes, I mean, he's trying to set straight factually a story that John Watson has romanticized.
Yes,
And
yes.
it maybe have been his last case.
He notes, Holmes notes that, yes, it was his last case because he did not feel that it ended successfully, and we won't give away what,
Right.
the kind of a bit of the twist there. But I don't think any type of romantic type of thing, even though you kind of pick up on something that she asked Holmes,
Yes.
let's run away
Yeah,
together.
yeah.
But I think he really appreciated her mind because she second guessed him pretty well.
She
he
did.
figured out, but she did a very good job. And this is not your typical femme fatale. This is what you would almost consider the British girl next door left to her.
And the other nice touch of this is Holmes thinking about his failures.
Yeah.
And he hadn't always been successful. People had been dying on his watch
Yes.
even before he got there.
Well, yeah.
And he was
even in the stories.
concerned about the way this case
Right.
turned out and blaming himself, which is so human.
Yes. Well, the tagline I like, it's on the movie poster, "The Man Beyond the Myth." And so you find the boy, not this calculating machine that Rathbone's character, you see a little bit of the, both definitely sense of humor, but also the emotion, that he kind of feels. I'm thinking, very beginning of the movie takes place on a train, and I'm thinking, the curmudgeon of Holmes as he chastises this boy.
Oh, I know.
And I'm thinking, okay, this is really cool. He almost reminds me of a thinner Alfred Hitchcock on that train scene. I'm thinking,
The
okay,
boy wants to tap the window where there's a wasp on the other
Yes.
side, tying into the bees and wasps motif. Here.
Yes.
But he's grumpy, just my kind of guy.
Yes.
He's telling the kid off, you don't do that.
Yeah. And I'm thinking, okay, is this going to be a one-dimensional curmudgeon of approaching his latter years, or not in his latter years, approaching death, basically. This curmudgeon, is it going to be played like that and played for laughs? And it wasn't, even though that there is very good humor in that, particularly between Holmes and young Roger.
So people are going to be satisfied with his investigative self. They are going to be satisfied, I hope, with the accurate depiction of a man no longer in his prime.
Yes.
And writing fact because Watson had always written fiction
Yes.
and written him up.
Yeah.
And in fact, he says this in the movie. I love it. He never wore a
Yeah, he said it was just, you know,
or never a pipe.
well, and then the stories he really didn't that much. It was really, you know, the Sidney Paget, I think was his name, you know, the artist rendering, with, you know, of course, the iconography of Holmes with the deerstalker, the Inverness cape, a magnifying glass, smoking a pipe, and he said, "I never smoked." He said, "I don't like pipes. I prefer a cigar."
Right?
Yeah.
I know. So, Wayne, though we have Ian McKellen here, and he's a favorite of mine. For instance, when he played Richard III in a Nazi.
Yes,
I thought
yeah,
he was
updated,
superb.
yeah,
Oh my
fascist
God.
England.
All right, so, but as good as he is, who's your favorite?
My favorite's always going to have to be Basil Rathbone, and just because I grew up with that, even though I liked Jeremy Brett, but in both cases, both of them later in their series just didn't work out very well. But I'm going to throw one in there that, since I've always been a big fan of Jack the Ripper, that, and were two Holmes movies about as he's trying to track down Jack the Ripper. The very first one, 1965, with John Neville, who played a very good a study in terror. Excellent Holmes, but also a very, very good Watson, who's usually, we always think of Watson as a buffoon, and in this movie that we did not see a Watson. You know, Lisa's face, we see a little bit as he's doing, a character is doing something. But probably the very best, Brother Mycroft, played by the excellent British actor Robert Morley.
Oh, yes.
And in that movie, so I would recommend that.
So I have to say I'm pretty much parallel to you. Basil Rathbone, not just because of that, but because he scared the devil out of my kids when I took them to see The Hound of the Baskervilles.
Yes,
And they never
yes.
forgot that.
Oh, yeah.
Anyway, he was so great. And Jeremy Brett really satisfied me as a modern adaptation. Robert Downey Jr. does not do it,
Yeah.
even though I know Holmes was athletic. I know
Yeah.
he was a boxer. He just doesn't. He's way too manic for me. So I'm kind of with you. But I may not be with you when we apply the grade to Mr. Holmes, starring Ian McKellen,
You
Wayne
want
Miller.
me to start out?
I do.
As good as it is, I got lost in some of the flashbacks. I'm not as sharp in mind as Holmes, so I had a hard time piecing it together, but very good, very worthwhile. I'm going to give it a B+.
And so am I.
Okay.
And I do it because I think there's some plotting elements to this. It slows up, and I think you're right. I think there's some, not necessarily confusion, but some disorientation in going backwards and forwards, and
Right.
and not a lot, and not as much clarity as I would have liked with his kind of romantic
Yes.
element there. I just thought
Yes.
they dropped the ball on that. Anyway, it's Mr. Holmes.
Yep. Well, the case is afoot. Elementary, my dear DeSando.